week 4 of the fantasy football season. And here's the top 12 kickers. I'm ranking this week. The first guy, Evan McPherson of the Cincinnati Bengals. So McPherson, week 1, he missed a couple field goals. But after that, he's been rolling and he's getting opportunities. And right here, week 4 versus the Miami Dolphins on Thursday Night Football, I think we're going to see another good ball game out of Evan McPherson. This Bengal offense is healthy. All their weapons are intact, even though Joe Mixon, he might not be 100% coming into this game, but reports are coming out. He should play. So Evan McPherson, he's getting opportunities. He's putting double-digit fantasy points up most weeks. And right here, I got him number 1. This Miami defense, I know they're good, but another thing is they could be bend but don't break. And McPherson, you know he's going to kick those 50-plus yarders. So right here, I got him in number 1 this week. Number 2, Tyler Bass of the Buffalo Bills. So one of the best offenses in all pro football here is Tyler Bass. Even though last week this Dolphin team held them down to 19 points. But right here, week 4 at Baltimore, I could definitely see a shootout type of ball game like we saw between Miami and the Bills in week 2, where Tyler Bass is going to get a lot of opportunities. And this guy, he's a great kicker, no doubt about it. He's accurate. He's going to get 2 or 3 opportunities per game. Though last week was a down game for him with only 5 fantasy points. But this week's going to be a bounce back week 4 at Baltimore. And he's going to put up good points. And I got him in number 2. Number 3, Justin Tucker of the Baltimore Ravens. So Justin Tucker, this guy's so accurate, one of the best kickers in the league. And just like I said with Tyler Bass, I could see this ball game where it's being a shootout. And we know the Baltimore Ravens, they got to put up points in this one. I know last week only 19 points scored by this Buffalo Bill offense, but this team has to put up points if they want to compete. I know Lamar Jackson's playing like an MVP candidate once again this season here. And Justin Tucker, in the first 2 out of 3 ball games, have been pretty solid games. Week 1, only 5 points versus the Jets. Week 2 versus Miami, 10 fantasy points. And week 3 in New England, he had 7 fantasy points. So right here, week 4 versus Buffalo, going to be a shootout, I believe, between these two teams. And if not, it could be a field goal type of grinded out ball game. And I got him at number 3 this week. Number 4, Harrison Butker of the Kansas City Chiefs. So Harrison Butker looks like he's ready to go for week 4 with optimism that he's going to play. And this Chief offense, we know, is one of the best offenses in the league. But they got a tough matchup this week here at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, one of the better defenses in the league, where we could see a couple field goals at least in this one. So right now that they Amendola early in the week here, this Chief team, I think Harrison Butker, he's going to be ready to go in this one. And we know he's one of the best kickers in the league. Just on opportunities and volume alone week in and week out. Even week 1, where he was banged up, he still finished that ball game hitting a 50-plus yarder and 4 extra points. And right here, week 4 Tampa Bay, I think we're going to see opportunities again here for Harrison Butker, because this Tampa Bay team, one of the better defenses, like I said, and they're going to have to settle for some field goals. If he's healthy and ready to go, I got him at number 4. Number 5, Matt Gay of the Los Angeles Rams. So Matt Gay's been a pretty solid kicker over the last 2 seasons. I know this season so far he hasn't put up huge numbers. Week 1 versus Buffalo, 6 fantasy points. Week 2 versus Atlanta, 6 fantasy points. And week 3 at Arizona, 8 fantasy points. But right here, week 4 San Francisco is one of the tougher defenses besides Buffalo to date that the Rams have versed this season. And this is a divisional matchup. Anything goes. You throw out stats. You throw out everything out of the window in divisional matchups. So right here, I think Matt Gay in this one is going to get a few opportunities. This San Francisco defense, they've looked good so far in the first few weeks of the season here. And in this one, I think Matt Gay is going to have to settle for some field goals. And he's on a pretty high-powered offense. So this week here, I like him in number 5. Number 6, Younghoe Koo of the Atlanta Falcons. I've gotten some questions about Koo over the first few weeks of the season here. I know he's not on the greatest of teams, Atlanta, but I think he's under-owned, only owned right now in 67% of fantasy leagues here is Younghoe Koo. So right now, he's got a good matchup versus Cleveland, where they're a bend but don't break type of defense. And obviously, it's an indoor game here. You can't go wrong at all. And Koo's got 2 double-digit fantasy games out of the first 3. He's a good kicker, no doubt about it. He could put those 50-yarders up in no time. And this week here versus Cleveland, I think he has another good game and easily could get double digits if he gets the opportunities. This week, number 7, Daniel Carlson of the Las Vegas Raiders. So right here, another indoor game for Carlson as well, and a home game. And he's been a solid kicker the first 3 weeks of the season. And this Raider offense, they're not putting up monster numbers like I thought they would, but they're putting up about 21 points a game here. So obviously, that's opportunities for Daniel Carlson. This week here, not the greatest of matchups for this offense versus stingy Denver Bronco defense. This has been pretty solid the first few weeks. of the season here. And this is a divisional matchup. Like I said, anything could go in these divisional matchup ball games. And Daniel Carlson, I think, once again, will get 2 or 3 opportunities and a few extra points. And I like him at number 7. This week, number 8, staying in the same game. And we're going with Brandon McManus. So on my kickers to start video, I had McManus as a start this week, and he's been pretty solid so far in the early going. Week 1 at Seattle, 10. Week 2 versus Houston, 10 fantasy points. Week 3 versus San Francisco, only hit a 50-plus yarder, but Week 4, an indoor game in Vegas. And this ball game, they're going to have to put up points here, I believe, Denver, if they want to pull this one out and go to 3-1. And this offense, I know, has been horrible the first 3 weeks of the season here for this Denver Bronco team. But Brandon McManus, he's putting up fantasy points in the early going here. Once again in Vegas, I think he has a solid ball game. And he's a guy I think that's a little under-owned as well, still available in 26% of fantasy leagues. But he's a kicker right now that I like this week. At number 9, Ryan Succop of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So Succop, he's been putting up monster fantasy points as well. And this Tampa Bay offense, they've been fizzling out a lot early this season, not finishing drives in the end zone, and Succop's taking advantage with 2 double-digit fantasy games out of the first 3, and also with 8 fantasy points in last week's ball game versus the Packers. So right here, Week 4 versus Kansas City, they're going to get reinforcements as this Tampa Bay offense. Mike Evans and Julio Jones most likely coming back in this one here. And Week 4, they got to put up points, no doubt about it, versus this Kansas City Chief offense, even though this offense hasn't been clicking on all cylinders the last 2 weeks here as this Kansas City team. But right now, Ryan Succop's putting up points. He's still in a high-powered offense, even though it's been a struggle the last 2 weeks here for this Tampa Bay team. But I think this week, once again, he's going to get his opportunities, and his kicker, I got in number 9. Number 10, Graham Gano of the New York Giants. So the Giants, they got a lack of weapons at the wide receiver position. Sterling Shepard, he's done for the season, most likely with the knee injury that got him carted off. Kadarius Toney, Kenny Golladay, they don't like him over there in New York. And it's good for Graham Gano. He's available still in about 90% of fantasy leagues, but he's had monster ball games the last 2 weeks. Week 1 at Tennessee, he didn't do anything. 1 fantasy point. Week 2 versus Carolina, hit 2 50-plus yarders and 2 30 to 39 yarders. And Week 3 versus Dallas, a 40, 49-yarder and 2 50-plus yarders. So he's gotten over 12 fantasy points in the last couple weeks here. Week 4 versus Chicago, they're a defense that bends but don't break as well, where I think Graham Gano is going to get opportunities in this ball game. And he's a kicker right now, undervalued and underranked. So right now this week, with a decent matchup versus Chicago, where I think he could get double digits, I got him at number 10. Number 11, Greg Joseph of the Minnesota Vikings. I was big on Joseph coming into the season, but this season he's not showing what he did last year for this Viking team, and he's actually been dropped in 6% of fantasy leagues, and rightfully so, but he's still got a big boot. He's got a good matchup in the London ball game, which is obviously indoors, where we always see shootouts or one team at least put up 30-plus points in a ball game. And right here versus the Saints, I think we could see Greg Joseph have a good game. I know the last 2 weeks he hasn't done anything. Week 2 with Philly, an extra point. And Week 3 versus Detroit, 4 extra points. But he did miss 2 50-plus yarders, but it's an indoor game. I think Joseph's going to focus, get things back on track, but I'm being cautious with him. And I got him at number 11 and the 12th and final kicker. I got ranked this week's Matt Prater of the Arizona Cardinals. So Prater, he finally got things going in last week's ball game with a huge fantasy day. 13 fantasy points, 20, 29-yarder, 30, 39-yarder range, and 2 40, 49-yarder ranges in that one. So right here, Week 4 Carolina. This Carolina defense, middle of the pack type of D. But this offense over there in Arizona, they're moving the football. They're just not finishing drives. And we could see more of the same in this one once again here, where Prater's going to get 2 or 3 opportunities. Week 1 versus Kansas City, he only hit an extra point in that one. And Week 2 with the Raiders, he only hit an extra point as well. So right here, I think he could finish anywhere from 8 to 12 fantasy points. And this is a ball game where the Arizona Cardinals should be in the red zone a decent amount. So I got Prater this week at number 12. So that's the top 12 kickers I'm ranking here for Week 4 of the fantasy football season.